Welcome back, Halo followers. 343 recently set expectations for their next Halo Infinite blog. Actually, the only real information we have about this is that it isn't coming and that it's coming next week instead. Patman said this on Twitter, not expecting anything substantial from today's blog for Halo Infinite, but boy, I would love to be wrong. And Sketch replied with, hey Pat, there's no blog today, I'm afraid. But we should have some initial Season 1 feedback outcomes and info to share next week. Guys, really a whole lot isn't new in this situation with Halo Infinite, but some things are kind of transpiring, and I just want to remind y'all about what is going on here. In the past 30 days, despite 343 already being pretty quiet, not really responding the way that Halo fans want to be responded to, the fan base has dipped another 40% on the average on Steam anyway. We don't know the Xbox numbers, but the population continues to get lower. We just had the Halo TV show come out, and there was no cross-marketing at all for either, which is kind of surprising, kind of sloppy. And I think the fact that 343 Industries has a lot of open listings right now, I mean, we're looking at potentially, I would say about 20-something, more or less, open positions right now that are just starting to open up. A lot of people at 343 are dipping, and that might be because of a few reasons. There is a very upset fan base right now, and it's obvious that 343 Industries is going to need quite some time to get things back in order. There doesn't seem to be proper leadership or a proper idea as to what a live service game actually is, and people are turning pretty toxic. You know, people defending Halo at this point, Halo Infinite, really are nowhere to be found. A lot of people have just stopped playing. And I want to talk about a comeback for Halo here soon, because I do think that Halo Infinite is not going to be abandoned. It's going to be a game that is going to be very fruitful and is going to feel very good, very fun. It's going to be packed full of content. But when? As far as Season 2, all we know is coming is 2 new maps and 3 modes, and it's likely that all 3 of these modes are actually just classic Halo game types, which include Infection, Territories, and King of the Hill. Now, some people are disagreeing with me that Last Man Standing or Last Spartan Standing is in fact a free-for-all kind of mode that is kind of like attrition. However, I do think that it might be Infection. I would be pretty surprised and pretty annoyed if it wasn't. Next month, in April, we do have Season 2 going to be better fleshed out, but the general idea here is that 343 will not share anything because they don't know what they can give us. They really don't know what they can do with this engine because it is so wonky right now. I mean, remember back in December, just a few months ago, they were talking about the feasibility of adding Slayer into the UI. There is something very wrong with Slipspace engine, and I have been suspecting this for a long time. So far, these past few months, we've just been getting updates that kind of don't really validate fans' views. They are kind of like, you know, we're right, you're wrong kind of tone to it. And a lot of people are disagreeing with how they're doing the matchmaking as well, because if you kill a bunch of bots in Bot Slayer, your behind the scenes ranking basically that is not visible is going to be marked up as if you're super good at the game. And then when you play ranked or social, you're going to be matched up with people that are absolutely great at the game, that are going to destroy you. There's a lot of fundamental problems with Halo, and I don't know why they continue to make these decisions. I think they honestly need to bring some people into the ring and just get them to sign some NDAs and ask for their help. It seems like most content creators, most Halo fans know what to do with the franchise, and I would absolutely love to see some people get hired here, and it doesn't even need to be content creators, but people that just express the correct ideas and vision for Halo need to be talked to. I don't really know why Microsoft is kind of neglecting this game. I suspect that they just have a lot of money and they don't really care. I mean, they just want the Game Pass money, and that's all they're focusing on. They're buying up a lot of franchises like Bethesda and so on. So I can't imagine that. I don't know why they're not focusing on Xbox. I mean, ever since the Xbox Series X came out, it really did not feel like they were committed to it the same way that they were and have been for the past 2 decades. like what is going on. I mean, Halo is the flagship franchise for Xbox, right? For Microsoft Game Studios, right? I mean, Xbox Game Studios rather. Yeah, I mean, people are pretty upset, and for good reason. This guy said or girl said on Reddit, April is when Season 2 marketing is going to start. That is true. And it almost, I remember reading that as a joke, but I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's true. May 3rd is when Season 2 is dropping. So that's, we're going to see a spike in players. Of course, I'm going to jump back into the game and play more, but, there's just something that's not really, it's just something very dull about the gameplay right now. A lot of people are losing interest. Most people have at this point. Nozrock says, I predict a long post to tell everyone that Season 1 was this past season. And he's referring to next week. I want to talk about that for a moment. Sketch said that next week is when they're doing some initial Season 1 feedback, outcomes, and info to share next week. So this is not really necessarily anything to be super excited for. 343 is going to tell us what they did wrong, what they did right, and this is probably going to be quite a spicy thing to talk about. I mean, if they don't put this, if they ignore things that they learned, or rather they don't talk about things that we think that they learned at this point, that's going to be a problem. If they say, oh yeah, the game has plenty of content, it is running pretty well, there's some little bugs here, but because the game isn't absolutely perfectly working, we want to make sure it's absolutely 100% perfect for everyone, kind of like these passive-aggressive remarks that, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what's going on there. And yeah, Mr. Spackman says, we've spent months collecting, listening to, and reflecting on feedback, and we want you to know we hear you. Halo is indeed a game. Honestly, this update that might come out next week, is something that I really want 343 to talk to us and tell us what the hell is going on, honestly. I mean, I don't think it's fair for us to kind of be not directly communicated with, like in such a long amount of time. I mean, they've done this so many different times, and they kind of turtle up when things get really messy and toxic, which in a way I understand it's not fair that these community managers have to deal with the entirety of the bad decisions made by Microsoft and 343 and so on. But I mean, where is the real communication happening here? I mean, this is good communication. They at least told us that there was no blog today, but they told us on a tweet on some random post on Twitter, and that's it. They didn't really explain why, or what really is coming next week, and what they're. It just doesn't feel very genuine. Every time Joseph Staten talks, maybe I just like the guy more than I guess the other leadership at the studio, but I just because he actually made Halo. But it always feels like he talks to us a little bit more genuinely, a little bit more real, but he doesn't talk terribly often. He also does deliver bad news, but yeah. Anyway, Fresh EZ says, this is officially the worst live service I've ever seen. They just called it a live service to cover up the fact that they basically have nothing and that more is on the way. Yeah, okay. It honestly, all of this makes 343 feel like an indie studio with maybe 6 or 7 employees or contractors that had a huge Kickstarter payday, and now they're just biding for time because people are getting impatient and they're just not delivering what they said they were going to deliver. It feels like an indie studio trying to bide for time, trying to procrastinate for actually doing what they were, I guess, expected to do. And so this Reddit post got me laughing too. These past few weeks in the Halo Infinite were very lackluster. I love the punch emoji because this is something that 343 has done, and they use this emoji a lot, and it's just I love that it's become like a meme now. I mean, things have gotten so toxic. I don't like making videos like this. I really don't. I'm trying to find the comedic value in it, right? I want Halo to be good, but this guy actually did put it in perspective. He said, while we are still holding out for things going to turn around lickety-split, because it's not. This is the game more or less for the next 3 to 5 months at least. They're going to add 2 new maps, 2 new game modes, which I think is just going to be 3 classic game modes, but that's just my opinion. A few weekly events, a couple balance changes, and that's it. Joseph Staten already said that's what's coming in Season 2. Don't expect more and you won't be disappointed. This is what Halo's become in 2022, unfortunately. I can't imagine the positivity right now if 343 just dropped, let's say, Infection. And I think about how simple of an Infection mode is, probably from a coding perspective, and how pretty much everything is already there that you need, like the sandbox, etc. You just need to move a couple codes around. Like, I'm not a coder, but I also see modders pick up the Halo 3 mod tools or make their own Halo games in a matter of days. Like, they make their own game modes and their own functioning mods. Like, what... I don't understand what takes so long for this, because what is happening here, you know? And someone else said that Halo MCC has a lot more value, and why wouldn't you just play MCC? It's a really good point. MCC is packed full of content, and at least us Halo fans have MCC, which did have a pretty bad launch, but it has recovered. That's why I think Halo Infinite could recover, as long as this 343 sees some money to be made in it. And I really don't know what the whole 10-year thing about is. People have been talking about that forever, that this game is going to be for 10 years. And honestly, at this rate, I think the game will be complete to most Halo fans in about a year or two. But I could be wrong. Maybe they're working on something big. You know, from the outside looking in, it just doesn't look great. I am not inside looking out, so I have no idea. They could be working on something big, and there is a lot of evidence that there are some really cool things coming. For just looking great, there is a big Battle Royale mode potentially coming that's like a Battle Royale and Warzone. So I want to see some big mode that can actually go toe-to-toe with something like Apex Legends, if that's even possible, or Fortnite, or just be its own kind of thing. So I don't know. You guys let me know your own thoughts about this, and next week we're getting a big feedback post, and I'm really curious to see what they learned. Did they learn the right things? There's a lot of room for them to say the wrong things in this one. That's why I think things are going to get even more heated if they don't talk about what they really learned, because there was a lot of mistakes here, as well as just the lack of telling us like really what's going on. I know they've been saying things, but I don't think they're saying the right things to get people on their side right now. So yeah, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments, and be sure to smash that like button blue and subscribe. Join me on the journey of following Halo for over 10 years. I'll catch you in the next one soon. Peace.